modular construction, off-site construction, many acronyms that comes from around the world, but are they implementable in Middle East? So the question to start, I will invite you, Mashael, to explain what is off-site construction? What is modular construction? What are you doing? What is this acronym that we all know but don't see on a daily basis?
Thanks, Riyadh, to giving us a chance to explain more about modular construction. Actually, thanks for your specific question about what is the definition of the modular. If we are talking about the modular, it's coming to your mind, it's a complete room to be moved from the factory to the site directly. But the real definition of the modular, when you make all the joint on the factory and move it on the site. So yes, the best case scenario is to move it as a complete room or a complete on the site to just make it assembly easily, but that's coming, the decision on that, I went on the logistic things, so the cost of the logistic, how it's far from the factory and so on. So modular, basically it's making the construction clean. So on the site, the job will be doing in a very efficient way, in a clean way, and also modular construction approved opportunity for the Saudi and all nationality for a better job on the site, not only making the, let's say it, a dirty job on the site. It's a real transformation on the construction sector.
Modular construction, is it for Middle East, Riyadh? Does it happen in Middle East?
We've been doing it for the last 12 years. So within the Amana group, we have two products or two brands, DoBox and DoPod. And DoBox we started in 2010. Since then, we've constructed well over $500 million of works, well over 500,000 square meters of built-up area. And these are all fully fledged buildings. So we take on the projects completely. We interact with the architects. Like the prior speaker had mentioned, we interact closely with the architect early on in the process and provide them an alternative to the traditional construction. And then DoBox take on the full project completely and delivers it from two manufacturing facilities, one in Riyadh, Saudi Arabia, and one in Dubai Industrial City. And both facilities produce a volumetric modular. So in modular, there are two types. There's the 2D, which is panels that are manufactured in the factory and shipped to site and assembled at site. And then there's a volumetric, which is 3D, which means the whole box is assembled at site and then shipped and installed at site. We've taken the view that volumetric is more efficient for the region here. And our process, both through DoBox and through DoPod, and they have two different parts in the market, and I can talk later if you'd like about them. But we've taken the view that we want to minimize work at site. So volumetric is the path that we've taken. And we practically do 80% of the work in the factory. And the structures are either in concrete, so we deliver full buildings in concrete, whether offices, residential, or hospitality, or in steel. So that's the structural elements. And therefore, we reduce the presence at site by 80%. You know, you have tens or hundreds of people at site instead of having thousands. And from that, of course, you get all the gains in efficiency, quality, time delivery, and so on and so forth.
Thanks, Riyadh. So I hear you well. It is happening in Middle East. And I've seen that off-site construction is around design, assembly, delivery on site. It looks like a car manufacturer 50 years ago that is transforming from traditional to modern. Mashael, what is so successful about modular? What will make it successful?
If you're looking about the modular in the insight of the benefit for the government, it will make the project or program of the government to be done faster. It have more control. It's localized technology in countries. It's approved a better job for the residents. So if you look at in a view of developer, it's giving a full control for the developer in the project. So we are not talking about only modular. We are talking about complete ecosystem. We are talking here about a digital transformation, and inside the factory, by making the construction element of the site in the factory, and by using PIM data to start from design and then until assembly on the site. So the benefit, it's huge. It's even reduced the number of the labor to be 70%. So all around the world, we are facing a huge problem in terms of the labor, and not all of them is skilled labor when you come to the implementation. As well as there is always a three factor. It's all, I think, focus on it. If you are government, if you are owner of the project, if you are even the contractor, cost, quality, and time. Only the new technology, only the modular can make this result of that equation success. Because if you go to traditional way, if I want to finish this project faster, I will increase the number of the labor. And even if you increase the number of the labor, the result will be affected on the quality, because sometimes you cannot do everything in same time. And if you're forced to do it, the quality will be less. So the only way to reduce the time for more than 70%, if we assume that, for example, one building will finish in 1 year, in our system, it's taking 3 months, 1 month for finishing designing, 1 month is skeleton, 1 month is in a finishing, without even increase any number of the labor. This is the comfortable way of applying the system. And that also has big added value for controlling. For you as a client, for example, if you are building your own home or your own small project even, that's give you a real customization you can make, and also give you a lot of saving in terms of considering your home or project a long-term investment. With using modular construction, it's have more efficiency in terms of the quality. So when we are talking about a real estate project or construction, it's not only about the time when you build, but about also the maintenance after you build. So when you have the highest quality, you save a lot of money in a long term. So it's a long-term investment as well.
So plenty of benefits. I've seen before ESG can be improved in terms of carbon footprint. You're mentioning a lot of benefits for the developer, the client, the end user, actually after the construction. So Riyadh, what's holding us back? I've seen a lot of contractors, traditional around here, still majority of the market.
3 reasons. One is there's always different horses for different courses. So no one technology or process is going to dominate. 2, it takes a lot of time to change in general. We're in a sector that's very slow to change, and we know that from adoption of new things. But 3, and more specifically for modular, there's a lot of stakeholders that have to dance the same dance. So imagine you have the developer, the architect, the designer or consultant, the engineer, the project manager, the contractor, the subcontractor, the supplier, and you need them all to dance in the same way. And it takes time. And it's a lot of effort. So really, the most resistance we've had, and we've been in it for the last 12 years, really, since 2010, is market awareness, is ensuring that everyone and all these stakeholders are walking the same walk and dancing the same dance, because otherwise they will revert to the business as usual. So it's really talking to the developer early on in the process, where the design can incorporate modular elements, talking and convincing the engineer at record how the modular is a solution and not an impediment. And also the authorities have to play. It's taken us a long time to convince the authorities to believe in it as a delivery mechanism, even though, for example, in DoBox, we use precast elements to assemble the box, we call it, at the factory, finish it off, and when we ship our boxes, we're shipping them fully finished. We have the paint done, the MEP done, the finishing done, even in many cases, the furniture bolted to the floor. So that's the kind of boxes that we ship out, not just concrete. And to get that approval by everybody has taken us time. Because imagine you're telling the developer or the end user, at the beginning of the project, you're telling them, okay, we've signed the contract, thank you very much. Now I need you to tell me the color of the paint. because I need to design and I need to go to manufacturing immediately. Those kind of decisions were always left to the end. So you're squeezing that decision-making process early on, which is a double-edged sword. It's a big stress on everybody involved, but at least it takes all the unclarity out of the process. And once we've decided on things early on, we go to manufacturing. There's minimal variations, minimal any scope creep, minimal misunderstanding. We cleared that already at the beginning. So, but it takes a lot of energy to get all the stakeholders around the table early on. So I think back to your question, Riyadh, it's a change does take time. We're seeing that it's easier now because some clients like the Red Sea Development Company, like Qiddiya, like NEOM are aware and want to and see the advantages of modular. And so that conversation with them has become easier than the conversation was 6 years ago with equivalent developers.
Fantastic. So I hear from you different requirements in terms of setting up a factory. I already think of CapEx and working capital in terms of investment. And I think on government, you mentioned, I think licenses, escrow account, disbursement, many elements that need to relate to those new designs that are in BIM software that needs to be approved in a modular way. So, Mashael, what do you believe the government role can be, is, or will be preferential to basically enhance the ecosystem? What do you need?
For sure, government play a very important role. But let me answer your question in other way around. When we start, as Bin Saedan family, we are a real estate developer. So we go through this journey from the first until the end, and we also interact with the client and so on. And then when we start with research and development with our international partner, as we strongly believe we should start from the end of others. So we think outside of the box, how we can make it. If we are thinking to change the awareness and change people thinking, according to many research, that will take 5 to 10 years. So we are moving in another direction. So we analyze the traditional way, what's all the factor in traditional P. We analyze even doing research about what people need. They prefer concrete, for example, more than steel. The cost also enhance in steel and so on. And we analyze also our market in GCC, especially in Saudi Arabia. Now the number of the labor is less. It's unskilled labor. So even when we have the best system, you also should consider until it's a complete system and it being ready to be used. So when we come up to transform the traditional way to be in the factory. So we're producing basically a column, a panel, a slab. So which is when a client coming, he see it, it's a traditional way. But in a very better quality and attractive even cost. So in this, we avoid even the way of try to convince or a change in regulation or yes, we have big improvement in Saudi Arabia, especially with the 2030 vision, and that's what the vision even, the direction of the vision. But we wanted to move faster as much as we can. So by looking for that in different way, I think that's make our journey more faster and even attractive for the client. Also, the Saudi building code in Saudi Arabia, for example, and I think even in Dubai, now the quality is higher. So if you compare apple to apple, you will end up of the direct cost, which is almost similar, and a big saving in the indirect cost. Also the high return of investment, because you will finish in 3 months instead of 1 year. So if your profit in your project or net profit, it's 40% or 30 before, it will be with 10% end up with 30% or 40% by the end of the year, and you have the attractive price for the client. Your project will be sold in the market faster. So I think that's what we should move in it, and I think we already transform and we start the journey. The one who will not with us today, he will be stay in the back, because everything is moving internationally, and now we are in the globalization, so everything connected. And with PIM, programming and data and design, there is no need. I even go to the designer, change your design. I'm taking the same design, and with the program, we adjust it without changing anything of your design. And that's the best scenario, because you have the right to have whatever design you think about it, especially in terms of the home. You own it one time in your life, so you should have the right of the free design and also for the adjustment later. One of the challenge before, it's that the technology, when you use it, you cannot adjust your house later. So with the result which we already come up with the new system or method in our factory, you are free to do all. And and really we have a big support from the government, because this is the movement of the 2030 vision.
Let me step back and give context. All our projects that we've won have been competitively bid. Just to answer the question on the return on investment and so on earlier in the earlier session. So just to address that point, for example, that today offsite construction is competitive with traditional construction. However, you have to choose the projects that you bid for. Different horses for different courses. So it does make commercial sense, point number one. Point number two is the ultimate goal of offsite is to reach a product and not a project, so that you're able to repeat that product over and over. At the end of the day, it's a manufacturing, it's a factory. So you want to really standardize your processes. You want to go back to a kit of parts. So you want to really aim to selling product as opposed to projects, if possible. And that's key to your supply chain. So now to your point on the supply chain, the way we've approached it is contrary to companies like Katera or others. We did not approach it from a disruptive point of view. We are at the heart, we're contractors who've been in the region for the last 30 years as general contractors. So we understand the importance of the supply chain. So we've actually made it very easy and plug and play for the supply chain, where we allow and have workshops for the different subcontractors within our factory to finish their work within our factory. And that makes it actually more competitive, because especially when we're addressing projects that are remote and that require high quality, you cannot expect the remoteness and the high quality to come together. They come at a price. So either the cost or the quality will suffer with the remote location. So therefore, the solution to that was to bring the supply chain to the factory and ship, literally we ship them sealed. So when the boxes are shipped from our factory, they're shipped sealed, so that the people outside cannot even open them. So they're there, they're done, they're ready for client inspection. Whether it is full rooms and full buildings, as DoBox does, or whether they are bathroom pods and kitchen pods, as what DoPod does today. They're sent, sealed, and they're installed at site for client inspection.
You've mentioned, Mr. Riyadh, that you've been in the modular business for the last 12 years. I'd like to understand from you, based on your lessons learned, best practices, and experience, what are some of the challenges in doing maintenance on, modular construction assets compared to traditional assets that are built the traditional way?
The maintenance, I mean, beyond the defects liability period and so on.
Once it is commissioned.
Sure. So that's actually a good point, because when you do it modular, you're forced to think of all the issues early on with the clients, because you're part of the design team and therefore the maintenance team. And many of our projects, we have the maintenance team during the design. So we build shafts for it. So we design, when we do a ground plus 3, let's say, the rooms and the bathroom go in 2 different boxes that are attached. And then there's an area for a shaft, for the maintenance shaft. And then the services within that are modular as well. The MEP services are done in a modular sub-assembly within the building. So I would say from that point of view, it makes it much easier for the maintenance of the facility down the road. But the key thing is to involve the maintenance team during the design stage.
And I'm assuming all spare parts, to address any maintenance issue on the ground, it's all local.
The spare parts are on the BIM model. That's the whole beauty of working in a digital twin environment. It actually makes the handing over easier to the clients.
Yeah, I'm talking when you are in a brownfield environment, 2, 3, 5 years from now, you're using the asset, it's deteriorating, right? It requires maintenance. I'm assuming all the maintenance and the spare parts associated with maintenance, it's all local.
Yes. That's the whole point, because the supply chain is there.
Yep.
Exactly. Yeah. So we wouldn't ship something from UAE to Egypt. Yeah. We would put a factory in Egypt, for example.
Okay.
This is the question for either Mashael or Riyadh. You mentioned that you are doing the volumetric off-site manufacturing for years, or actually that you are pushing towards volumetric rather than individual or off-site manufacturing. How did you find it difficult or easy to implement volumetric solution when architectural or engineers' early designs are not necessarily all suited for volumetric?
It's a challenge at the beginning, and that's where the key is in the design, is in the engineering and design. Taking a traditional design, let's say conceptual design, and designing it for manufacturing in volumetrics. And that's the sauce, that's the secret sauce that we have. So yes, definitely it's a challenge because you can easily turn from being a contractor to being a demolition contractor, especially if you're doing it in concrete like we do it in DoBox. And if you don't do it right the first time, you only have one time, it becomes a big challenge. So that's something that we learned early on. And it's behind us now. The competency is in-house, fully in-house within Amana and within DoBox. The ability to take a traditional design and design it for manufacturing in volumetric pieces. But that means also that you cannot do all projects. So we turn down projects just like we accept others. We choose our battles.
In-house design is critical, actually.
Yes. In our case, also, we take the design, which is a traditional design, to apply it in our system, but it will be a little different because we are not changing design. For example, most of the technology, it's a bearing wall, so it's need to adjust in your design to be fit in the technology. In our case, no, we fit the technology even in design. Maybe in some cases we see just some way to reduce the cost, but if you don't, if you want to stay as and you accept it as it is, we move forward and we supply all the column, panel, all the project to your site. For our technology, we can assemble in the factory and make it as a complete modular, or assemble on the site to make the column with the wall together on the site. And also we are producing a 3D printing material according to design. For example, if you want to make your project a piece of art, sometimes it's very costly to do it, but with the printer, the cost will be more efficient. So all the system together, we give it as a one-stop solution, and we use the programming of the PIM data, starting from the design until the assembly.
In-house design, I want to reiterate, is so critical, similar to the car manufacturing, and became so critical to make the designer think to the end of the value chain and become almost the engineers that do the Formula One, as well as a design for purpose, cost, quality, and time.
As highlighted by Mrs. Mashael, that you may not have to change your design or your execution procedure. My question is that whether have you experienced, or do you think that this is doable, that while the project is running, is it possible to transform the traditional construction to the off-site construction procedures? And what is the expected cost saving maybe applicated there?
It's dependent on your stage of the construction now. So, but for sure it's possible. For example, the technology, it's a three technology together. It's a complete ecosystem. If you already finish the skeleton or the concrete column, you can use the technology at the closing wall. If you half of the system, not all, full the system. So I think we should we need to study your case exactly and know what's the stage of construction you are in. Then we can decide. But if the question is possible or not, for sure it's possible, yeah.